The South African Council of Educators has not been able to check for potential sex pests among teachers and possible teachers. Spokesperson Themba Ndhlovu joins us now from our Pretoria studios. Themba, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So is that correct? Have you not been able to check the list of sex offenders when hiring teachers or approving teachers?
I think we need to make an understanding of what's happening with the list of that sex offenders register. You should recall that the register is handled by the Department of Justice, and in our engagements with the Department of Justice, we were informed that there are still processes going on in terms of consolidating the register to such an extent that the register would be ready by 2019. And also when you go to the website of the Department of Justice, it also indicates clearly that the register is still worked on and therefore would only be ready by 2019. And therefore, we're saying as council, as part of the processes of verifying whether teachers are fit and proper to become teachers, we are in the meantime using the Child Protection Register, which is controlled by the Department of Social Development. And also, as the law dictates to us, we are expected to submit names of any teacher that we find guilty of any misconduct of abuse of learners in that Child Protection Register. Council has, however, also taken a decision that whilst processes are underway in terms of validating the sex offenders register, we have taken a resolution that as of the beginning of 2019, every person who comes into register with SACE would need to produce a police clearance certificate. And it is our belief that the police clearance certificate would give us more information and data to enable us to take a decision whether a person is fit to teach or not fit to teach.
Now, the Democratic Alliance is saying that you only asked to have access to this register last year, and that itself is a problem.
Let me indicate that if you look at the processes within the Department of Justice in terms of that register, the register has been worked on, collecting of data, and if you go to their website and to themselves actually, it would clearly indicate that the state of readiness of utilizing of that register, which up to now is not yet utilizable, has been the factor, and therefore that we need to put blame on SACE that they have not been using that register is quite an anomaly in this instance. However, noting that it is important that the people who we allow to go and teach our children are taken through the process of verification. That is why every time we are trying to improve our sense, that is why in terms of our registration criterion, we have included the production of the police clearance certificate by any person wishing to register, so that whatever information would gather from that police clearance would assist us to take a decision. It is a step in the right direction, and hope society understands that council is doing whatever possible to make sure that people who teach our children are really fit and proper to become teachers.
How can society understand that you're doing everything you can when we still have teachers in our education system currently who are appearing in court because they have been shown having sex with pupils? I mean, there's a case in KwaZulu-Natal recently that comes to mind when I talk about this.
Remember, we always make a call to society and parents that when these incidents are taking place, they're taking place within our societies. And society needs to report these cases duly so that we're able to deal with them. Maybe reverting back to your earlier question of the sex offenders register. Remember, people who only get into that register are people who have been charged and found guilty by the court of law. But there are lots of instances where people are not taken through the courts of law, and those are the instances, some of them, we are calling on society that report this matter, because these things happen within our communities, and we cannot only wait for the courts to deal with these matters. Report them as soon as possible to the department, to ourselves as council so that we're able to deal with them. We can safely indicate that teachers we find guilty of abusing learners, we strike them off the roll, and their names are submitted on the Child Protection Register, which the Act dictates of us to do that. And that is one of the mechanisms we are using as council to ensure that people who are interacting with our learners are beyond reproach.
And can you say safely that every applicant then goes through the South African Council of Educators has been vetted properly, that they have not been involved in any acts of sexual assault when it comes to kids, comes to pupils, or anyone in that regard? Can you safely say that?
Can I safely indicate that as council we're doing all in our power to ensure that every teacher that stands in front of the children is beyond reproach. We are doing all in our power to ensure that we verify whatever person who comes into it. That is why we are always improving our systems. That's the reason we are making this call, that come January 2019, everybody must produce a police clearance certificate, because it's not only sexual cases that we are concerned about as council, but we are concerned with all other criminal cases. That is why we're saying a police clearance would help us gather as much information as possible, including, by the way, the sexual misconduct cases, which would be on that Child Protection Register, but we believe would be things that we gather from the criminal record, from the police clearance certificate, allowing us to make informed decisions of people that should be there in the profession.
But sir, Parliament is hearing that you're not doing a good enough job. I mean, it doesn't come out of thin air, those allegations.
I am saying, as part of our responsibilities, we may take the blame of not doing enough, but we are doing something in terms of ensuring that our teachers out there are beyond reproach. That is why sexual-related cases in particular are a priority to the council. Whenever we receive a complaint of a sexual nature, we leave everything else and focus on those cases, because we believe they are so serious, and that is why a number of teachers are getting struck off the roll, thanks to society for reporting such cases to us. But we need to accept as a fact that these cases are happening within society. If society does not report these incidences to us, it would be very difficult for council to deal with them.
All right, thanks for your time.